Hey guys, what's up? It's Chase with Ethical Trading. Let me drop this link in a couple more places real quick, trying to make sure that everyone has it, because as some of y'all know, I kind of throw this everywhere for everyone. It's not specific to our Discord whatsoever. I'm on like 5. So throwing this link out there to everyone there, as well as on Facebook and Twitter. Feel free to share the link if y'all want. Please do hit the like and subscribe button before I dive in. That way we can get some of the cool new features. But I'm going to start on crypto and then we'll jump over to several stocks. If there's any specific tickers you do want to see, feel free to throw those in the live stream chat or into the actual chat on either the Ethical Trading Lounge, the VIP Lounge over on Bullish Raid. Not going to track Facebook or Twitter because that's too hard to maintain, but throw them in the YouTube chat if there's specific tickers you want to look at. But definitely starting here on crypto. So for those of you that were following along yesterday on any of the channels, and then I tried to do a post update over on Facebook on several of the crypto groups too, just to kind of help the newer people, because I totally get it. It's very easy for people to start freaking out on pullback days, on bounces like yesterday, but yet here we are, again, with the same levels being respected on Bitcoin that we saw previously, and like I've described before, what you typically are seeing when you see that type of movement, especially into the end of December, or I should say beginning of December into the end of the year, is you've got people taking paper losses on crypto because there's no wash sell rule with crypto. So larger wallets will dump crypto for a loss on paper. Not just larger wallets, also us, small fish in the pond will do the same thing because it's a way to negate capital gains taxes on other things. So current loophole. Great loophole. There's more info on the Coinly website if anyone wants to check that out as well. That you can read up on it. Coinly is also great for those of you, and this isn't like a affiliate thing because I don't have any kind of affiliate link through them. But Coinly is really good for those of you that are trying to understand how the hell do I take all of the crypto transactions that I do need to report for purposes of taxes, because you could, of course, you should report all of those, right? But you follow my drift. The ones that you do want to track accordingly, you can use Coinly and integrate it with your wallets, and it makes it very easy to kind of sync them up. That's what I've used the last few years to pull in the transactions as well as keep track of things that I want to for tax purposes. So, that being said, what we got going on with Bitcoin? Bitcoin, aside from the little retracement pullback stuff that we see that I mentioned why we see that, we are still very much in a very bullish setup on Bitcoin here. So you've got this wonderful bull flag breakout still playing out right now. We retested again with the volatility and the move back, and now we're pushing up. I want to see more buying volume. I'm not loving the little bit of volume here, but the day is yet to be over, so we still have time. That's looking good though. That's a big solid green candle that you can see there. We might get a little bit more pullback and retracement, and all this consolidation in this zone is healthy. It's the same type of thing you saw before any of the previous breakouts. Same type of thing you saw right here in November where we consolidated before moving higher, consolidated, moved higher. Same thing's going to see on playing out with Bitcoin. Real quick, because I shared the screenshot for this yesterday, but I want to show something because I think people start screaming alt season and Bitcoin dominance out the window, and that's just not the case. Those of you that have been in crypto for at least 2 cycles like me, you should know better for calling all that nonsense right now. But right now, if you wanted to flat out look at Bitcoin dominance from a technical standpoint and not just purely from a number standpoint like what you see on some of the online sites, Bitcoin dominance is actually showing that it's doing a breakout from a technical standpoint. It perfectly retraced and bounced off that previous resistance level, and now it's looking to move with upside momentum. And you can see here how we have bigger increase in volume going on here. It's the same thing if you go back and you were to look at the previous movement on Bitcoin back in 2020, 2021. If you roll through there, we get to 2020. We're basically like over in this zone. Like we're not even really ripping yet, guys. Everybody's freaking out thinking that like Bitcoin's going to drop, but next year's going to be lit for altcoins and alt season. So as of right now, still looking good. I don't know what Matt's over here talking about. Matt, are y'all on the live stream too? But I'm sorry, 007 Matt. I had to clarify that. But yeah, I'll pull up the charts for sound and AI as well. I see that you're asking Cowboy to do it based off of the alternative approach, so I'm definitely down for that. So let's look them up from multiple different perspectives. Cowboy does some good, sweet stuff with his charting as well. So again, Bitcoin's looking solid. Many of the other cryptos that we talked about and looked at the last week, still all solid. Ethereum is retesting its resistance range again. Like I mentioned on previous videos, I am not expecting Ethereum to have the strength. It'll get some momentum with alt season, but I'm not expecting it to have the strength that we saw in 2020 and 2021 because people have come to reality that freaking gas fees are high on Ethereum. And transactional fees will eat you up, especially trading a bunch of altcoins on different exchanges and swaps like PancakeSwap and Uniswap. Luckily, you can buy like Uniswap on places like Robinhood and stuff now and transfer them. But Ethereum overall, like I love ETH. I mined ETH for years. But at the end of the day, it's like the blockchain just sucks compared to the other ones, and it's got high gas fees even with the conversion over to proof of stake. So I think that a lot of the push that you had back in 2021 that drove ETH higher was the hype. For one, you had the backing of the miners, obviously, which was driving a lot of the momentum and movement because they were moving transactions as they were mining. Also, you had a lot of hype around the idea that Ethereum was going to shift from proof of work to proof of stake, like we talked about way back then. And like I'm going to remind y'all now, that's not a great thing because if you go look, ETH dove after it went proof of work to proof of stake. So I get the why, but also I think that ultimately it didn't really solve the issues that Ethereum blockchain has. So ETH, you can see this is the levels we're watching there. Solana, which is much better approach in my opinion, especially if you're into meme coins and stuff, because cheap transactions, fast. You look at Solana here, it's doing the same thing. It's trying to build out following that breakout. And yes, I just have a massive green arrow up here for Solana because the measured move of this larger term weekly bull flag, or bullish pennant I should say, on Solana is like way the hell up there somewhere. I could do the measured move, but then people are going to be like, that's absurd, there's no way. There is way. Welcome to crypto. So watching this, I'm looking for consolidation again in this zone, breakout to the upside. Let's look at XRP real quick. And sorry if I'm cranking through these quick, you can pause it and see the levels that are marked there, but I want to make sure I go through crypto pretty quick because a lot of y'all know I can talk about crypto for hours, but want to make sure that I get time to talk through several of the stocks people are asking about that we're trading. So XRP, same thing. I really hope some of y'all took the benefit of the sell the news situation with the 60 Minutes interview, because that it was like a prime example of just like Saturday Night Live with Doge several years ago. I made huge gains on a short position on that trade, and then I locked the gains when we tested and bounced at the support. So XRP is still bullish on it overall. I know I've mentioned it to some of y'all. I'm still retaining all my holdings that I've had for years now on XRP because my cost basis is like 16 cents or something. That being said, I'm a little skeptical, and like I was talking to someone on Facebook earlier today, and I understand how the escrow works with XRP. My concern with XRP is not the escrow process as a whole, or the money, or with the XRP that's sitting in the actual dev wallets that are actively there for escrow in the process that orients that, but more so it's the corresponding value that's very similar in some overseas exchanges that is not sitting in escrow that just happens to be for very comparable amounts. And it just, something feels a little off to me from my standpoint. And I say that purely my opinion, based off of trading crypto since 2017 in and out, seeing different things on projects overall, and just something doesn't sit well with me in that realm. So just calling it out. Like I said, I'll retain my holdings there because I do love the transactional processing component of XRP, just like I do with XLM and some of the others. But the others don't have the kind of the fishy thing going on where like 50% plus is on dev wallets or random wallets that correspond to other hot exchanges. So definitely going to keep an eye on those wallets. If one of them dumps, panic's going to set in, and I really would prefer not to be left holding a bag. Once panic sets in, it drops like 80%. So watching Stellar Lumens, here's the levels I'm watching on Stellar Lumen. Many others are starting to shift over and do well. Like I said, we kind of got the little retracement bounce going on the last couple of days, which is beautiful. You can see hit that level, perfect retracement, and now we're bouncing after the wallet sold off. So going through, let me make sure touch on any of these others that people were asking about. I don't want to skip any. Doge is another good one that people keep asking about, and yeah, I think that overall Doge, meme coin or not, it's looking good. Somebody told me this wasn't a bullish pennant earlier today. I was like, haha, hee hee. Because, like, here, let me show you this. I think the AI thing even flags the same pattern. I'll look on the 4 hour. Yeah, see, so here's the thing when it comes to a bullish pennant. They're very rarely perfect like that to where they just end and they're done. So this is actually a larger time frame bullish pennant that's developed on the chart here. And while I've got this level here, people are probably wondering, why do I have that resistance level marked where I have it marked instead of taking it, moving it up here? I have it marked where I have it marked because if you look at the daily chart here, that is the key resistance level that we went to attempt to break out here, 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 rejected. Attempted to break out here and here, rejected. Attempted to break out here, rejected. Same thing, right? We attempted the confirmation candle here, but then rejected with the sell-off. So this pattern is very much still intact, and you can see we're actually potentially forming a new higher low here of this pennant. So this is a beautiful setup here for Doge. Measured move conservatively for that is going to be around that 57-cent mark. I mean, like, I read one of the comments earlier today that is a very valid point. You can't really think that Doge is going to be crappy for the next year whenever Trump literally made a position for Elon and the title is Doge. So that being said, Doge is there, still a meme coin, but also I bought and paid for stuff over the years with Doge, so I like it. Definitely a setup to keep an eye on. Definitely a good meme coin from a solid standpoint without going into true meme realm of craziness. If anybody wants to pursue that. The difference between Doge and SHIB, though, is the circulating supply. So while Doge could technically hit $1, and that's not too crazy to think of, I'm just going to flat out say it like I've said in another video. SHIB's not going to $1. It's not going to happen with the circulating supply that's available for it. The amount of actual market cap it would have to have is more than all the world markets. Even if they're burning them, they're not going to burn them like that. Ooh, Tony said Hood exploded up. That's why we got in Hood calls, buddy. Alright, so I'm gonna shift over and look at some stocks now, but I'm gonna start with crypto stocks and Hood. And Hood, because what I've told y'all about the direct correlation with crypto, perfect little segue. So if you look here at the 4 hour, we'll look at the daily first. You can see that we got the little bounce action here. The key thing I'm wanting to see on Hood, Tony, what are you talking about blowing up, dude? Did it fly? And I'm not seeing it here on the time frame. Yeah, I'm not seeing a Hood blowing up at the moment. But that being said, the setup's still intact. So let me jump over here. So on Hood, what am I looking for? I'd like to see consolidation above this 3684 level. That's a good zone for me to see some consolidation. If I remove that, there's actually a bull flag potential develop here. So let me do this. Tell you what we're looking at. What I'm going to be looking for here is this setup right there. Is I want to see, and I guess I could move that down a little bit if I take magnet mode off. I want to see Hood consolidate right there in that zone. Ideally hold that 3817 support there and then continue this measured move for the breakout that we've been following along with. So that's going to be your normal technical setup there as well. Majority of retail traders, which not that they're driving the price action of crypto as a whole, but majority of your or your retail traders are trading crypto on Coinbase or Robinhood. That's just the nature of it. So any of the bullish movements you get with crypto, it positively impacts Robinhood, and also any of the bullish movements you get with some of the meme stocks and everything, obviously also impacts Robinhood. So calling it out, that's where Hood's getting a lot of movement. It needed this consolidation and pullback. This is why we logged gains on the calls previously and then entered some fresh ones today. I'll be watching to see if this support breaks. If it does, you can see a retest of this trend is likely. I still don't love that these gaps are sitting down here, but we'll see whether or not we even move down to that level. Going from there, jumping over to MicroStrategy, which we all know started to pop off again today with crypto, and I'm kicking myself because I was literally yesterday morning looking at a call option. I was going to go ahead and do it anyways, even though it was high risk and it was like $1,800. And kicking myself because I was going to enter right in here, and the thing was 1,800, and then today it was over $5,000. So I was kind of mad that I didn't just bite the bullet and go with it because I had conviction in crypto. But MicroStrategy is popping off again, which means that MSTY is also going to start popping off again. Keep in mind, the sell-off on this only happened because Michael Saylor sold off a bunch of shares, and then he went and immediately bought billions in Bitcoin again. It's a rinse and repeat cycle. I don't understand why people still freak out over the thing. So you got that going on with MicroStrategy. Both Mara and Riot this week decided to follow the same playbook and did offerings to secure more cash, which, for those that aren't aware, both have insane amount of cash on hand, much more than conventional stocks have. But you're getting some selling action from that. Once those offerings are complete, you're going to see that these things rip and bounce. So Mara, simple retracement at this point. If you actually look at the weekly, I bet, yeah, it looks good still. So we're potentially going to form an inverse head and shoulders right here, which would put measured move on that. Gotta look. Like super conservatively, that's 100% measured move. Wow, okay. I'll take it. That kind of makes these little dingy moves I've got over here for the measured move of the other setup small. But at any rate, like, I think a lot of people get uncomfortable when it comes to trading crypto stocks, which is okay. If you're not comfortable with the volatility that comes with them and the price action and movement, trade other things. You don't have to trade crypto stocks. There's other things to make money on right now, and you don't have to trade the top 10 heaviest weighted tickers in the QQQ or SPY in order to make gains. So, all right. Right here you can see like it tends to consolidate and then it just rockets. That's just the nature of how a lot of these crypto stocks move. Same thing if you look over here on Riot. So I was talking with some guys earlier today. They were talking about the movement and how it kind of bothered them, which we already completed that measured move. We just hit it in a day. Remember, I didn't expect it to happen so quickly, and it did. So one thing with Riot here you want to keep an eye on and watch is when it starts getting this movement. Remember when people freaked out back at the beginning of November right here, and then all of a sudden it was just like, let's take a rocket ride? That's how a lot of these crypto stocks move. They pop off hard and then they kind of consolidate and they may pull back a little bit, and then all of a sudden they catch buying volume and it just explodes into the next zone. That's just the nature of how a lot of the crypto movement happens within the crypto mining stock realm. Same thing with a lot of the stocks that are exchange based, so like Coinbase for instance. Same thing you got here. You've got a bull flag developing now on this setup, and that's going to be sweet. I might actually enter some coin calls. Again, this is another one I was kind of kicking myself yesterday for not buying calls that I'd been watching, but it is what it is. Can't be upset. We made gains on plenty of other things. So let me actually, so I don't forget, let me pull up the list of stocks that I've got here because I told people I would look at them. IWM, definitely want to take a look at that. So check this out on IWM, which I do want to preface and say that a lot of the movement and the dependency on whether or not these bullish setups on some of these tickers like IWM and others are going to play out is going to be contingent on, if I can click the right spot, we'll be good, how the data comes in the morning. So for those that aren't aware, we still have lots of important data tomorrow morning, especially the jobless claims. It's going to be something people are watching closely to see how that plays out, because that's going to directly impact whether or not the Fed cuts the interest rates or not, which is next week for those that aren't aware, next Wednesday. But yeah, we had good data today that was interesting. It came in alignment with what the expectations were, so that's not good or bad. I think if anything, the markets may have been kind of accounting for some bad, and then it came in as expected. So right now what we see is people are looming and waiting to see how the data tomorrow morning plays out. But I want to show you this setup real quick. Sorry for all the lines, we're trading on multiple time frames. So if you look at this on IWM, you had this nice big breakout, and now we have developed another bullish pennant. And again, I've got my line drawn there. Honestly, I could probably pull it down a little bit and it's still very much valid, but if I was to use the AI thing, I wonder what it sees in comparison. Okay, so it actually sees the very same bull flag. So looking here at this bull flag, you can see that the measured move on that breakout aligns with that 255 plus level. And I think people are forgetting that here. Let me look at the 15 minute and show you. Because people get so panicky when it comes to IWM. Like we didn't just make literally this move from the exact same range back on the 22nd, overnight to the all-time high. I'm not saying that we make that move again. I'm saying the bullish setup is intact, and therefore I'm remaining in a phased-in position on IWM calls for January because I want to see how this thing plays out. If we get terrible news and it breaks down, it's likely to test this trend level. Remove that again. It's likely to test this trend line here. I've got it conservatively drawn at this point. It could actually be pulled down a little bit, but there's lots of support in this range as well as that trend line. So that confluence of that level gives us some bounce points if we did get crappy data. If things come in good and it's bullish tomorrow, that's going to be something that helps IWM rocket up out of this setup. And if it does so with buying volume, it's going to rip hard. Someone just reminded me on one of the chats, and also I see all the ones in the YouTube chat too. I'm going to pull those up here in just a second. So someone did remind me on one of the other chats. So Wolf, which is one of the other crypto stocks I didn't pull a minute ago, check this setup out because I entered more calls today. I saw them over on the unusual well screeners I've got configured, but I saw the bounce, and then I've been wondering because I saw lots of $7 calls the last couple of days into that pullback. But look at this perfect technical bounce off that trend line, and not only was it just a pure technical bounce, it had significant volume whenever that came into play as well. So definitely going to be keeping an eye on this. I entered some lotto calls on it as well. Hella bullish into close, which is good. We'll see overall what happens with Wolf tomorrow and Friday, especially if we get some more bullish movement on crypto overnight. You can expect those to probably pop off pretty hard. Let's see. Make sure I cover all the other tickers that people are asking for. So Riot, Sound, AI. So we hit Riot a minute ago. Let's look at Sound real quick because Sound and AI both have an interesting setup that I want people to see. Sound is maintaining its bull flag setup right now, so we'll see how that actually consolidates and holds. I think a lot of these AI specific tickers are kind of seeing what the data says tomorrow, and then that's going to drive them. They're also being impacted by this Nvidia kind of over here not looking so hot, but attempting a bounce, right? So if Nvidia can hold the bounce and move higher, a lot of these these AI related stocks like SoundHound and AI are going to get bullish momentum and upside movement. The current setup is totally okay with me. Whenever you start to have volume tapering off on these downward movements, that's where when you hit the support, buyers step in and the volume spikes. That's where you get these big massive spikes like that. So watching to see if Sound can hold the support range. Same thing over here on AI because I watched it pretty much all day because it broke out of that bullish pennant for the upside move previously. It actually completed that first measured move, but now we have yet another back test here, which is like a beautiful technical bullish momentum setup. So nice big, again, huge green candle for that previous breakout on the daily. What we'll be looking for here is consolidation, pullback at support, and then buyers to step in again with a nice big volume push, which will help it to drive up higher. Similar setup to what we saw on Palantir and several others. Sound, I'm expecting it to kind of push up here in this previous highs range. This is a good one. I forget who it was asking earlier today over in one of the Discords. It might have been Matt, but he was asking if Sound was a good long-term holding for shares, and it is for me. I like it. I think a lot of these AI stocks, especially the small and mid-cap stocks, are going to be hot next year. So definitely watching this, seeing what Sound setup does. What else we got here? Lucid is the next one. It's in the YouTube. Going to YouTube chat. Down through that first, then I'll jump over to the other list that people are formulating. So here's the thing on Lucid. And I think people panic, and I'm loving it personally. I really am sad that I got distracted earlier today and didn't re-enter this now that I see where it actually closed. Crap. That's okay. I'm going to add to it anyways because this one my favorite long holds overall, even though I know it's skeptical for people, but the Saudi Public Investment Fund owns a significant portion of that. I'm going to pull that up real quick and show y'all because we were looking at it earlier today. Oh no, I'm not signed in over here. All right, hold up. Let me do this real quick and sign in. And then I'll show you. Because the ownership, you're going to find it very interesting to see the holdings and the biggest holders overall in Lucid. And I know I've shared screenshots and stuff with some of y'all, or not screenshots, but photos of Lucid and some things, because we're actually starting to see them more and more on the road here in North Texas. It's interesting, but see, I'm in there now. Loading. Pulling it back. Alright, so now y'all can see Lucid. So what I want to show you is the holders on Lucid. So aside from Saudi Public Investment Fund, which is significant, and people are like, oh, if they sell, it's done. They're not selling. It's part of their green initiative for into like 2030 and beyond. Lucid Motors is kind of why they have such a big investment in it. But overall, notice some of these other top holders. They're the familiar faces that we see here in the North American market. So BlackRock, Vanguard, several others are your top holders right now. Lucid's not the crappy company people think it is, and remember, not all companies have to sell a cheap model in order to flourish. There's plenty of brands out there that are examples of that, but that's interesting along with a lot of the data behind it. But the setup here is sweet. So that's a inverse head and shoulders breakout that we made some sweet gains on the initial breakout. Now we're back testing, and this is a good entry opportunity off that previous support level. So I'll definitely be looking to add here. I might go ahead and pick up another 1,000 shares like I did earlier this week and see what happens. But definitely going to add to some calls on Lucid. So Hood I already touched on earlier. And thank you, Analyzer, for asking to like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And if you haven't already, please do that. That way we can get some more features and functionality over in the studio. So now I'm jumping over to the list of requests from Discord. Let me check here. So over in Discord, alright, GameStop, yup. So those of you that didn't see the earnings for GameStop, like they had less revenue, but their profitability is improving to the point that they are actually no longer in the red. From an operation standpoint. So I expect them to retain it somewhat range bound just because they want to burn up options into Friday, which that's not specific to GameStop. That's typical of any earnings. That being said, you've got this bullish panic going on that we've attempted to break out now again. If we can get buying volume on this, whether that comes from legitimate buying volume or it comes from Roaring Kitty throwing down another random tweet, which I went and looked at that tweet, and it was interesting because it was the old YouTube interface. And I didn't know if this was low-key him saying that he's going to do a live stream soon or what the situation was, but it was on Time Magazine cover. So I'm looking to see what happens the remainder of the week on GameStop. So I was in, let me see, did I sell those? I can't remember. Yeah, so I stayed in my lotto calls on GameStop just because I bought them after the Ivy crush this morning. So we'll see what happens. BlackBerry and Palantir, yeah, I can do those. Let me jump over to BlackBerry real quick because that was a sweet one that I was really mad I missed on this move right here for those of you that were kind of following along. But yeah, like I saw a lot of bullish movement on call options for BlackBerry, and I wanted to enter them, and I'm still in the longer term BlackBerry calls over on my other account, which are up 42% still. They did go up like 90% though on that initial move to that resistance level before I trimmed. But I wanted to add in my smaller options account BlackBerry calls when I saw them, and then I just got distracted with other tickers. But yeah, we're going for a breakout here with BlackBerry, and I think might get some momentum, especially into earnings there. I might sell cash secured puts or something into earnings and see what happens. But yeah, like right here, BlackBerry's looking good for the breakout setup. It hit the resistance. Now it's going to consolidate and either back test this support and move higher, or just blow up higher if it gets more buying volume. So that's good stuff. Palantir is the one I haven't looked at yet, but again, another one that's showing some promise after people freaked out because it pulled back and retested, which is normal, perfectly still bullish setup. Palantir's up huge this year. And then if you were to look at that setup and then ask people, do you wish you would have bought here after that pullback? And everybody's like, hell yes, we do, which we did. We bought $65 calls there, and then they ripped to the moon. So definitely watching Palantir here. You can see that's a solid bounce. What I want to see is increasing buying volume step in here. So definitely watching this. I think the same thing is going on with Palantir that you've got going on with several others waiting on the data tomorrow. It'll be interesting as well with Trump coming into office and him starting to talk a bit more. I saw some news highlights today about different things. Like I think he said that he's going to axe the Lockheed Martin contract, which I haven't looked at that yet to see what that did. I can't. There we go. It dove in after hours when that news came out. Damn. I wish I was in some Lockheed Martin puts, because that would have been a sweet little trade. Wow, look, they said they were going to cancel. Like Trump, in case y'all didn't see, so Trump basically said he was going to cancel, I think it was like the $1 trillion plane contract, and as soon as he takes office, and it just dove off that, which this thing will bounce back. Let's see, so Palantir, Lockheed, we looked at IWM, Oracle. Man, Oracle was a sweet scalp trade today that we locked some awesome gains on. Check this out. So I was watching it. I saw some weird stuff in the options flows earlier today, and then I saw that it had already back tested this support level. So it fell hard after earnings, but just because something falls after earnings like that hard doesn't mean you can't scalp a great trade off the setup. So it fell hard after earnings and it tagged a double bottom setup earlier today, and that combined with seeing the orders and the flow on my screener, I jumped in some very cheap scalp calls, and those things ripped 68% off after that. So I sold mine when we got up in this level because I saw the reversal starting to happen and bailed. But that was a nice little sweet setup on Oracle. We'll see if it builds out and holds. This is a bear flag and then breaks down, or if it tries to push back and go for that gap fill. I think a lot of these types of stocks are waiting on the Broadcom earnings, which is tomorrow, for those that aren't aware. So Adobe, yeah, Broadcom got this huge move this morning off the news with Apple, which is interesting to see if this holds or if earnings ends up just killing it. Adobe, unless something changed, the last time I looked, got clapped, yeah, off earnings this evening. So big drop on Adobe. I know me and SK used to trade the crap out of Adobe puts off this range, and I wish I would have bought some more just because I didn't realize it was there. And I usually don't trade earnings directly, but this one I might have taken the risk on it. I might buy more puts on Adobe tomorrow, even though, like, I'm not in any currently, but in the past, like, whenever you get this kind of setup, it's probably going to go for that gap fill. So it might consolidate, get a little bit of bounce, but yeah, Adobe's not looking so hot. What's next on the list here? So Chewy. So this one was sweet. This is another, like, in case y'all can't tell, my inner ape comes out whenever I start seeing meme stocks rip. So Chewy was one that had a nice big pop, which it dove in after hours, which is fine. Gains came earlier today, but look at this thing, especially on the 5-minute. It got this huge move right here, which that right there doesn't seem like a huge move for most stocks, but that $2 move on Chewy options was significant. So that gave us huge gains on Chewy, locked those gains, got out when it tapped that resistance. I'll watch the pullback here and see what happens. I'm not like super long on Chewy or anything. I know that Ryan Cohen kind of knows what he's doing though when it comes to GameStop and Chewy. So we'll see what happens there. Rumble is another solid one right now that I think people freak out a little bit whenever they see consolidation and pullback, but in reality, this bullish setup is still in play. So Rumble is actually coming out of a downtrend breakout on the daily and weekly time frame. If you look at the weekly here, you can see. So that back test, that's actually a really sweet move. I dig that. So we broke out. We now back tested a little bit. We held the support here. This has the potential to bounce and move higher. Especially if you see bullish movement on some of the meme stock realm and GameStop and crypto realm, expect Rumble to get some hype. And it's also heavily shorted at the moment. And I'm not saying that like as a biased, unknowledgeable retail trader, which I used to be in 2021 or 2020 around the whole short squeeze type thing. In reality, I learned how that actually works since then. This one actually has the potential to potentially short squeeze out of the setup at the moment, just because people weren't expecting the big push that it got a couple of weeks ago. So same thing I mentioned on some of the others. I want to see increasing buying volume step in here. We had that. We had a little bit of drop in volume, which is okay for me from this standpoint. That's actually a good thing. You can see though, like on the pullbacks, if you've got tapering down volume, that's good. That means selling is dissipating. So if we can get the bounce there and move higher, this thing actually has the potential to really rip. So I'll be watching Rumble to see what happens there. Mobilize, another one that we traded, made some sweet gains on calls here. The setup is still intact if anybody wanted to trade it for further out into next year. I did trim some of my gains on it, but definitely still plenty of potential for this setup here. It's a cup and handle as well as a bull flag now. So we're watching this setup. You got this beautiful pullback here. What I want to see is increasing buying volume step in, because ideally we want to see a nice big fat green candle to push and blow through the supply zone on this thing. So definitely watching that to see if we can make that happen. But that should be good on that one if we can get the breakout. So let me see, what's the next one? We looked at Wolf. Celsius is one that some of us have been messing with. I should have trimmed more than I did on my calls this morning, and I knew better. But the setup is still intact, so I decided to leave them a little bit longer to see what happens. So Celsius had a nice big breakout with buying volume of the same kind of downtrend you got here. What I'm looking for is the back test of the trend line and the confluence here, and then a bullish bounce to the upside with one of these nice big fat volume candles would be ideal. So definitely watching that. I'm watching to make sure this also doesn't turn into a scallop pattern that kind of drops lower. But like I said, as long as this retains intact, I want to see what happens, because we need to remain the uptrend pattern here as well as break out of that downtrend. Also saw some very interesting options flows for Celsius. So watching that, see what happens. Let's see. We looked at AI, we looked at charge. We didn't look at charge point. Let's look at charge point. I can't tell. Charge point's trying to do the same thing, right? Break out a downtrend and bullish continuation. This is more of like a longer term trade, especially if some of these smaller mid cap EV companies get buying momentum again like they did earlier this week. You're going to see a big move and probably go for that gap fill. So another example of a cheaper stock that you can make great gains on. You don't have to trade super expensive stocks to make gains. Let's see. Did Mora, did Riot. I covered most of these. If there's any other tickers y'all are wanting me to look at, let me know while I'm checking this other list over here for crypto. Yeah, that one's looking good. Or if there's any other topics you want me to cover. Yeah, Analyzer, I don't know what time I did AI. It was probably like 20 minutes ago or so. I need to turn on chat transcript, or maybe even turn on Copilot when I'm running these, so that I can document each of the sections for you. That way you can reference back to them. But let me check a couple of these other setups real quick. And let's look at one of these screeners real quick, because I want to see what came in. Again, I think a lot of stuff's kind of low volume at the moment, waiting on the data. And we'll see what happens tomorrow. That's why I was trying to be patient and took a few. Yeah, let me look at AMD for you real quick while I'm waiting on that. Took a few lotto trades and made gains, but I've been taking it easy on entry of heavy swing calls and swing puts just yet until we get confirmation of how this data plays out. So AMD, this is what I was kind of warning people about. Yeah, I'll look at DraftKings for you too here in a second. AMD, this is the setup I was trying to warn people to watch out for, because it was a bear flag, it was intact. A lot of the semiconductors do show a lot of weakness still. You still want to look at each of them independently, like I've been saying, but just be careful trading some of the semiconductors. AMD got that little bounce earlier today to this resistance. We'll see if the news tomorrow helps it break out. Oh, sorry, excuse me. Or if we continue and make that complete measured move, we'll see how it actually plays out. But Thanks, 007 there for telling him when AI was. DraftKings, yeah, sorry. DraftKings, same risky kind of situation going on, right? So what you got on DraftKings was a break of this uptrend with that initial news or whatever it was that came in last week. Here, if I look at them daily. Yeah, it's not looking great for DraftKings. I don't know if it's worthy of me trading puts just yet, but if I see a break right here, yeah, I might trade puts. I mean, it's a $2 move. I could make some nice gains on some short-term DraftKings puts, but I don't know. There's other things I might trade instead, just because the risk to reward for me probably is not going to be worthwhile. But yeah, it broke this uptrend here, bounced, and then initially it rejected right off that trend line. And then you can see also like we had the continuation. So this is not good. Like if this is flip side and you had like a bullish breakout, that's the type of setup that if those were green and moving the other way, you'd be like, oh sweet, this is the momentum that we want. Instead, what you have here is this is momentum showing strong selling that's likely to have follow through and continuation. So definitely be careful on DraftKings if you're in that. Did we look at SoFi? I think we did. No, we looked at Sound. We didn't look at SoFi. SoFi has this sweet bullish setup that's still intact. So another one that's looking good for re-entry of some calls if you didn't get them today. I'm looking for the continuation and break to the upside on SoFi. Again, I'd like to see volume sustain on it. If we can get some news that's bullish, it'll help. But yeah, let me click over here real quick. I want to make sure I cover all the bases. Yeah, I did. Let's see. Phone died. Hood. So we did Hood. We did Celsius. United Health I haven't done. And I'm still mad I didn't buy puts on the thing whenever the said. God, I didn't know it dropped that much too. Me and Deej were looking at it too. And I was actually going to buy swing puts on that day that the news initially came out because it bounced and it just kind of held constant. And I was like, that doesn't seem right. I was going to buy $600 puts for so cheap. They were like $400 at the time. Wow, they'd be up huge. Yeah, United Health is probably about to get smacked off that. I mean, it's trying to go back into this previous demand zone, but this sucker probably is going to keep on dropping, especially if they're sending you additional news about the assassination thing. Yeah, United Health's getting clapped. I think it's going to take a big hit. They've got earnings coming up too. That'll be interesting. So, yeah, that's where United Health currently stands. Dell, let me pull it up. Not sure how I feel about Dell at the moment. I like the setup from that previous trade that we took, but that lingering gap to the upside's kind of nice. If he can hold the support in this range, this actually might be a sweet setup. I think a lot of these are kind of waiting on the Broadcom earnings. They're all semi-related within the realm, but yeah, Dell will be interesting. I mean, you got this break of this uptrend, so there is that risk, but it does look like it may potentially build the support there, and they just came off good earnings, it looks like. Crafty revenue result. Man, I don't know why I'm yawning. I've got a cup of coffee right here. Maybe I should be drinking that faster. Because my wife is awesome, and she made a fresh pot of coffee this afternoon. I was like, hey, there's coffee in here. So, Dell... Does he ramble about crypto most of the time? I kind of hate crypto at the moment. Tony, I haven't rambled about crypto on this session for at least 30 minutes. Is it time to shift back to crypto? Is that what you're telling me? Tony's a little salty because he got into crypto stocks and he's just not made for the volatility, but that's okay. Not everyone is. There's plenty of other stuff. And 007 Matt is over here giving him a hard time about it. So, yeah, definitely watching this setup here on Dell. I'm going to put on my list. Let's see. I said Tony chill. Let me look real quick. Let me look at SQ and now I'll go back to Hood real quick because I think that Hood took a hit today, but it's probably going to drop more. I got it here. Hold on. Tony's gonna jump on a bit now that he sees us all talking about him on the live stream chat. So SQ, another good one that has a great bullish setup on larger time frame. This is one that I saw some $98 calls yesterday on the screener, and I almost bought them, but I was like, you know what, I don't want to buy that short term call on SQ at the current setup. Just I wanted to wait. Had I bought those, they'd be up huge right now. So yeah, heavy as a guest. I don't know if I'm heavy as a guest, Tony. I don't know if we'd be able to stay on topic, but I'm always down. And yeah, Analyzer's got a valid point too. You've got people that love volatility and people that hate volatility. Me personally, I thrive in volatility. I get really bored when I'm trading stocks that are just flat unless I'm selling premiums against those stocks and I'm watching them decay. But whenever it comes to actually actively trading options or shares or something, like, I really thrive on the volatility and volatile stocks, and maybe that's why I thrive within the crypto realm as well. But yeah, the setup right now in SQ, very much bullish. Honestly, this is not a bad spot to go long. I know we're already in some long calls, those of y'all that kind of follow my lead on some stuff, but I might look tomorrow and see if I can add more calls for June. Maybe that 140 strike, I like those. And I know that seems like it's ridiculous, but that's the measured move of this setup, and it wouldn't shock me at all to see us rip up there. Thing to keep in mind, I want to touch base on it real quick before I look at some of these others, is Santa Rally. And there's a video on the YouTube that's like a 30-second video that y'all can go watch that explains the Santa Rally and what it actually is. There's a lot of false assumptions about what the Santa Rally is or isn't. It's not something that takes place the entire month of December. It is more at the end of December. Ultimately, it's a few days there. There's multiple reasons why it may happen or may not happen. I'm not going to dive through all that right now. You can go watch that 1 minute session, or I think it's like 2 minutes actually. I shouldn't say 1 minute, but it's a super short video and it's Santa Claus based. So you'll see it on the short stream videos on the YouTube channel, which, by the way, while you're there, like and subscribe, please. Trying to grow the content, and that helps. But the Santa Rally, it'll be interesting to see if that sends momentum to some of these stocks here. A lot of the pullback we've seen on some of these other tickers the last couple of days is good. That helps us kind of set up and consolidate and build momentum as we head into the end of the year. Yeah, Analyzer, I mean, the setup long-term for SQ, keep in mind it's very different than Mara and Riot. Mara and Riot have that more volatile, rapid movement tied directly to crypto, but also in very different ways for mining companies. I think that what you potentially will see if Mara and Riot follow lead, like they've already said that they're going to with Michael Saylor, like he does with MicroStrategy, of selling off shares and then buying Bitcoin with that. The more they do that, the more you're going to see those stocks soar. And also something to keep in mind, especially for like Riot, which has actual mining facilities here in Texas, is in the winter they're operating, like, the efficiency of the machines and the efficiency of the mining rigs is actually much higher in the winter months, which is why I normally set up my GPU mining rigs only in the winter to kind of heat like the garage or something, since it's insulated. That way it's like a self-paying heater in a sense, but in the summer in Texas, your mining efficiency goes down even with all the cooling setups that they have on their setups. It's just the nature of it. So their efficiency will go up and they'll probably mine and have better rewards as of right now. Yeah, Tony, I actually just covered SQ, even though you're not on the live stream. So you aren't hearing me talk about SQ. But yeah, unless you just now joined because you were scared that Matt007 and I were having a conversation about you, and that's okay too. So that one is actually looking good and probably going to pop off. Let me look at BAVA real quick for 007 Matt. Y'all saw the big news for the stimulus for China a couple of days ago that caused a bunch of these to pop off, and then we're consolidating. So that is one funky chart for Alibaba at the moment. Wow. In case y'all can't tell, this sucker loves to make huge, like, random gaps. So, I mean, honestly, not a terrible spot to, if we hold the support range at like 87. I've made bank on some BAVA calls in the past. I'm kind of tempted to do it again. Somebody here, we're going to make a list over here as a reminder. So BAVA is one that I need to look at calls for. Dell calls for. I'm going to keep this as a running list up here so I can remember to jump into them tomorrow. Let's see what else we got. Other tickers. Rum, we talked about. GameStop, we talked about. Mobileye, we talked about all those. I said I would take a quick glance at Hood again real quick for Dragon. It's the same thing. Bullish setup is still intact. You've got these red candles. I'm not stressing too much about it because I guess the short, like 20-second summary of this is crypto moons, Hood moons. Meme coins or meme stocks moon, Hood moons. Basically is like the very short summary. So the bullish setup still intact here. If it does break this support range, you can expect a bounce probably at that 35 range over the confluence with the trend line. But ultimately, this is kind of a healthy pullback. I didn't re-enter additional calls except for those one shorter dated ones just yet. I'll enter probably some longer term swing calls tomorrow. I wanted to wait for heavy, and for those of you that are following trades and stuff, the reason I didn't alert and get in heavy trades for additional calls or puts yesterday or today is because the news. Specifically with the inflation data and the jobless data tomorrow, because that's going to have a very significant impact on which direction we need to trade with our swing options. Great opportunity to make huge gains in the coming days as a result of that. So, like, don't be scared of it, but more so, those of you that don't know me will learn I'm cautious when it comes to entries on stuff like that because I'd rather not be stuck in a position, and I'm damn sure not going to try to buy to average down to save a position that turns against me. Like, that's just not the right way to trade. So, trading lightly, quick in and out, trading stuff that the setup's not going to be influenced directly by the data in a bad way, because some stocks just don't give a crap about what the data is. So, keeping that in mind. Real quick, let's see, we got that. Hood moved with crypto. Someone called you crazy. Yeah, someone doesn't know the realm then, because crypto definitely drives movement. I mean, look at the Hood chart. Look at the Bitcoin chart. I bet even if you were to look at the damn Pepe chart, it would look even more similar. But while you're not directly day for day, the overall pattern and setup, if you look at Hood and you look at Bitcoin, notice the big rip. Hood didn't do that because Hood's awesome. I mean, Hood's fine, and y'all see I trade on Hood because it's the easiest mobile interface of all of them. But Bitcoin did that. If you want to, make a meme about it, but like, can't tell me that's not interrelated. So again, watching that, Bitcoin still trying to push up higher. I don't want to see Bitcoin break out again and move to a new high. I haven't checked on what my holdings are today, except for that one time earlier today. And people think I'm nuts because I saw the freaking movement on my portfolio because I shared it yesterday. And they're like, how do you sleep? And I'm like, I just do, because I've been through 2018 and 2019 of crypto, so this really isn't bad. 007, Matt, I was thinking about Intel, dude, because I've been watching some share or some option flows on Intel. Like, look at this. I'm going to show you real quick because I was watching it several times today because they happen to keep coming through. And I was like, man, I kept getting tempted for calls because someone seems to be easing into calls on it. Let me change my filter setting because right now I've got it set to where it's catching anything and everything, and a lot of these are negligible for what we're trying to trade. I'll do this. Oh no. So check this out. So like, even like this was all through here was today. So notice how these calls here, somebody's been easing into some calls, and like some of them were premium sold because if you aren't aware, you can kind of look and you can see when they were sold to open and bought to close. Some of them were and some of them weren't, but also I've been checking and watching the setup on it for some kind of bounce, because I think that once they, I'm not lucid Intel, once they do announce news specific to a new CEO coming into play, I think that the news is going to help it to get a little pop. So I will probably, like I was saying the other day, like I really want to see if it can hold that $20 range, but then even more so that 1908 range. That support or trend break there, we expect more downward movement, but we'll see what happens there on that breakout. Man, I love Cowboys charts over because he does the Wyckoff method for those that aren't familiar. So it's very different as compared to the technical analysis approach you see me doing on these charts over here, but still very much applicable. So checking out the setup. Yeah, sound could rip, man. Like I'm telling you, like whenever you see Cowboys chart showing something like that and mine showing like that, sound actually, which again, I know I've said this about 5 different stocks today, but I'm kind of kicking myself for not going ahead and adding more calls to sound yesterday and today. Like yesterday, I'm kind of glad, I guess, there. But if it can hold that support range there, and part of me almost wants to buy shares in after hours, as stupid as that sounds, but that would be very stupid for me to do with the data in the morning. I'll wait and see how it does in pre-market, and if it rips, or if the data comes in hot, or not hot, is in like bad data, because like just for context, if the inflation data or the jobs data comes in hot, that is a bad thing for these stocks, and they're going to react in a negative way. So Agnes asked about my covered call strategy. So let me spend like 2 seconds talking about that thing I got Bell, because I did realize it's like 5:30 and my kids are crazy. So I need to go rescue my wife here in a moment. Covered calls. Ideally, I know a lot of people have been asking about selling premiums because you've seen me do it with covered calls and cash secured puts. Ideally, you want to sell covered calls when you're in a nice big spike. Big green day premiums are in your favor as the call seller. That is the ideal time to sell covered calls. Also, doing so when you expect to smack off of resistance, as well as maybe off of situations where you're at resistance, you have some kind of news or data that's coming in that you expect there to be a volatility crush with the IV. That's a good place to sell calls. Also keeping in mind that if you were to sell those calls, you could be assigned on and have to sell your shares. So you definitely don't want to do that with any shares that you're like die hard not wanting to get rid of. That being said, you can also buy to close the call once you get a pullback or if the premiums tank. So just like pure example on sound, you could sell here. Let's find a good one that I've recently done it with. You know what? I did on Lucid. As odd as that sounds, because Lucid doesn't have huge premiums or anything, but when we tagged that resistance level, I sold calls. I know some of y'all heard me say that. So I sold calls to cover my, like, to protect the gains that I had secured on my shares. So I sold calls at that resistance and collected the premium, which actually hedged and protected any downside movement on my shares. Actually netted higher gains by doing that, because what I did was after I sold those calls, zoom over here, I sold the calls right at that resistance tag and actually bought to close my calls right over in here. So I literally sold the calls to open them, and I bought to close there, and then I sold my shares on that little retracement. Which I'm not saying you don't have to be that rapid in all intraday like I did Lucid, but by doing so, for one, I had the gains on the shares up to the top, and I sold the calls with spike premium. As the call premium decayed, I ended up selling those shares off, or I'm sorry, I bought to close the calls for less than I sold them for, which was the net profit, and then I ended up selling the shares as well, securing the net profit from that side too. So, Tony said I thought he was done when I talked smack about crypto. Dude, everybody talks smack about crypto. I'm still going to love my crypto. I'm all about the crypto life. But yeah, from a call strategy standpoint, that would be a good approach. Puts is the opposite. Ideally, you want to sell puts on like a big fat red day when a stock is beat down, and typically not like one single little red day or pullback. You want to do it whenever you've got a potential like huge turnaround coming into play. So I think Uber's one that several people asked about. Tony was asking about some Uber puts earlier today and like selling cash secured puts on it. I mean, the risk to reward, like it looks like it would have played out okay, but for me, like $39 premium being collected on that would have been not really worth it, I guess is my standpoint on it. So at least from the standpoint, like if Uber, for instance, if it dropped really hard and you sold those cash secured puts, I think it was $50 strike that you were selling them for, you probably could buy to close those tomorrow if it holds this level for cheaper than you did it. But I mean, you're talking about $40 premium that you secured, and then let's say they drop to $25 tomorrow, premium wise, then you could buy to close and have $15 net gain. Do you really want $5,000 tied up in capital because they're going to hold that as collateral for the shares at the $50 strike, or making $15 gain? Personally, I don't. So one way you can do it, and there's video out on the YouTube and the shorts for it on explaining the wheel strategy, but let's say you wanted to sell cash secured puts on something like Intel because you don't mind holding the shares long if you get assigned. Premiums are probably kind of high on Intel right now for the puts, which is good. So you could sell them if you're expecting a bounce. Like, we're obviously not support yet, but let's say you sold them at that 1908 support and then we bounce big. You could buy to close those cash secured puts if you wanted. Alternatively, let's say you don't mind holding some Intel puts, or I'm sorry, some Intel shares at $19 a share. Worst case scenario here, if you were to sell a cash secured put right now, they're going to hold your $1,900 because it's each option contract is worth 100 shares. They're going to hold your $1,900 as collateral. And then if, let's say, on the day of expiration of your contract, Intel is below $19, you're going to be assigned to purchase that 100 shares at $19 a share, and that's why they use your collateral. So that's kind of how that works. But that's also, if you're doing it that way, let's say you got assigned 100 shares, normally people would do the wheel strategy in this situation to where now you have 100 shares of Intel. Next time you get a big green pop, or you get these momentum moves up to a significant resistance level, you could sell covered calls at that level and hedge your position in the event of a pullback. And then let's say that you do get assigned for whatever reason, and you've already secured the premium, that's your money regardless, but you get assigned, you sell your shares. Worst case scenario, you sell your shares for a strike like 15% above your cost basis. Then you've now made gains on the puts initially, on the call premium when you sold it, and then also whenever you sell the shares, you're getting premium, or you're getting a net gain again. So that's the wheel strategy, and then you can kind of rinse and repeat in circles. Buy cash secured puts until assigned. You have shares, sell covered calls till assigned, then cash secured puts still assigned. Rinse and repeat. So the wheel strategy is actually a nice little passive income type approach that you can use. Dragon asks, what's my overall plan for your own crypto? So it's this. Here, I'll show you. And this is a shameless plug. I don't really give a crap. So I'm going to throw it out here. And this is live now, so y'all can order shirts if you want. I need to add a bunch. What's my plan for crypto? That right there is my plan for crypto, dude. So, HODL gang, dude, since 2017. Y'all have seen the holding. So, like, buy, hold, repeat. Trade, leverage crypto futures up and down. Take the gains from that. Buy more crypto, hold, repeat. That's my plan for crypto. Most of the crypto projects are going to keep on ripping. I know people say, well, you can sell the highs and rebuy back lower. Yeah, I experienced why you don't do that at one point back in 2019, 2020. I won't do that again because I sold off a little portion of Doge, and then Doge never looked back and never went anywhere near touching that price point again. So I will not do that. I will sit and hold on long-term holdings in cold storage wallets because that's a safer place for it anyways. But, sorry. All right. Still, rant, going down the rabbit hole, right? But for the crypto I created, what's the long-term vision for it? I talked about that a little bit in that one video I did that kind of explains the vision. There's more to come in the future on that. And for those of you that are like, what's he talking about? I created my own crypto. And it's still, I haven't been marketing or pushing it a whole lot, so that's why it hasn't really moved a whole lot price point wise. But y'all can also go out there and swap and exchange for it on Phantom World if you want to get in some too. So if you actually look here, and try not to keep in mind, like from a technical standpoint, this is not moving and shouldn't be charted the same way that you would chart any of the technical crap we just looked at. You're going to see a lot of really weird movement like that anytime you have a tiny little sell or movement, because it's not fully, it's on the curve right now for the bonding curve. So even though somebody only sold $90, it still made that big red thing, which I'll go buy $90 here in a minute to offset it if y'all really want to make that look pretty. But I want to scale and grow it. like I mentioned on that other video though, I want to do it very slow and progressively, because if I was to go add all the liquidity I plan to add to this crypto token that I have on Solana, if I add a huge chunk of liquidity and this thing spikes and it gets the bonding with its 100% already, what's going to happen is it's going to attract what they call snipers within the meme stock realm, and those dudes will try to come in and buy some, and then like they'll try to rug it, and I'm not going to let somebody rug my crypto. So they could try. They don't want to play the game. Y'all seen crypto holdings. If I need to start pumping liquidity into it, I would. But ultimately, like, the vision is kind of defined here. But XState is going to be kind of like a meme community-based token. And I've got some AI components working on behind the scenes that I'll talk more about later on. But I want to kind of slow roll it for the time being. But definitely get in on some crypto stuff. If there's any specific crypto quotes and ideas y'all have too, throw them at me, because I'm working on a bunch of different shirt designs right now. Only the 3 are visible on the website, but working on a bunch of others that I just need to publish. But and yeah, I think it was Moorhead was like, dude, you must really like Heather, because all the patterns are Heather. I live in Texas, homie, and it's hot and we sweat, so Heather helps conceal that a little bit. But I need to add the other colors and designs as well. Analyzer asked, what's the chance to make money at Intel leaps January 2026? I don't know. I got mixed feelings on it. I think Intel probably is one of those staple companies that could bounce back, but also think of how people bought Intel leaps all along the way, up in that 30s and 40s range, and we're like, yeah, there's no way it drops any lower than it did, and yet here we are, and Intel is way the hell down here, right? So I don't know, like I would have to see what the cost is of it, but I watch people catch the falling knife on this thing so many times at this point that if it does have like more bearish news somehow, it could get painful. I mean, you're looking at probably a move down to the $16 or $13 level. They do have earnings coming up. They're also exposed to the tariff situation and the implications of that, as well as the stuff going on with a lot of the semiconductors right now. So there's different things that can impact that negatively. I'd be careful. MicroStrategy inversion. Hey, you do not know. Tony can't touch that. That's a MicroStrategy. Tony's not allowed to touch crypto stocks. So, like, no. MicroStrategy ETF is that. Even though I totally agree with you, that's a great place to sell. And for those of you that aren't seeing this right now, so Analyzer was talking about this one right here. So it's the MicroStrategy. Damn, this thing's really down to 83 cents nowadays. Oh, because they did split. Wait, upcoming split. I'm confused. Reverse split is what that's probably going to be. I guess the thing just can't show that or account for it or whatever. But yeah, like you can sell cash secured puts on this one because everybody knows it keeps ripping. If you're down for shares that you want to sell covered calls on, but then you also want to collect some. Damn, I should have bought more of this. This is, yeah, you know what? Right now, where's my count? Going to buy another 100 shares. Doop. Misty, MSTY, is a derivative of MicroStrategy, and this thing's a sick derivative that's like 10% of the share price. So, yeah, that's like, if you had 100 shares, like $370 a month, give or take. I mean, assuming current price, that you would get paid out in dividend. It's a monthly dividend, not a quarterly. So this is kind of like a really sick dividend payout. Yeah, like look, $4.41 per share is what was paid out here. So this would be a sweet one to sell covered calls on, as well as long-term hold, which is why I alerted it and we got it in around that $35.12 price. But I want to add more to it, and I'm kicking myself for not doing so whenever MicroStrategy was beat down. So, all right. I think I'm going to wrap up because I've been talking on this thing for over an hour now, and my kids are crazy and out there. So I appreciate all of y'all. If you haven't already, please do like and subscribe. Please feel free to share the link for the Discord or any of these trend analysis videos or learning stuff with more people. Trying to grow the channel. Low-key hint, it will help if we grow the channel for this realm as we start working through the XState crypto It is there as well because there's going to be some benefits that come into play, and I need more following on YouTube specifically to be able to do that. So, like, subscribe, share if you don't mind, please. It is very much appreciated, and we will make some more gains tomorrow. Talk to y'all later.